for a week, but we are here to go through a 3-round NFL mock. So I'll be doing less of answering questions and more about explaining each prospect with the given team and why they would make that selection. So we're live on TikTok, we're live on YouTube, and we're live on X. So I appreciate all of you guys tuning in and whoever tunes in throughout this live. This will be up on YouTube after the full thing. So you can go through the full mock and why I have each prospect going each way. I'm also coming out with my 2 mock draft top 12 videos today. I can do a third part as well, which will go 12 to 18, but you'll see a lot of that here as well. So again, I have to make sure I can see the TikTok comments. So I'm going to open up the chat and make sure that, let's see, make sure I can see your guys' comments. Give me 1 second. Okay. Basically, I will be this small probably the entire time so that you guys can see the actual stuff. I'm going to log in on my Cold Tub Confessions account, and that way I can see your guys' comments. So hold up for 1 second and we will begin. And I'll be answering no fantasy football questions on this live, by the way. It's just going to be these draft questions. So let's do it. So I believe that if this stands as the pick, the Titans would trade this pick because obviously they don't need a quarterback. Okay. I mean, it's very simple. They do not need a quarterback. The Jets would be the team that would want to leapfrog the Saints if they really like somebody. So let's do, well, what the heck? Oh, it's on that side. That's why I was like, what's going on? So I think they would give up the 5th and probably the Indianapolis first. I don't think they would have to give up that first because they're going to be so bad. And it's only 4 spots for Tennessee. So let's just add in a second in this scenario. Okay. So I'm going to force this trade because, I mean, it would be accepted probably in real life. So now let's start the draft. Well, oh, I screwed up. Let's redo that one because I forgot to give the first round pick for them. So let's start the draft first. Cool. So obviously these are the players available. Tennessee's going to trade this pick if they end up having the pick. I'm going to make sure that the Jets are the ones that leapfrog the Saints if they have a guy, right? So we're going to go into that first. Obviously they would, for one, they would trade the 5th, the Indianapolis pick they just got, and we'll give them a second for there. I know it's 4 picks, but if you're really interested in a quarterback, which I believe I know which quarterback they're interested in, that is what I think they're going to do. So right here, we're going to go to quarterback, the Jets, Ty Simpson from Alabama. Ty Simpson is the best quarterback in the class. To me, there's no question. The processing ability is top notch, which is shocking considering he's played less college games than Fernando Mendoza. But it's definitely a guy that, you know, is tall enough to play quarterback in the NFL at 6'2". He'll probably measure in at 6'2" as well without shoes at the combine. I know Fernando Mendoza is 6'5" and has a good arm. I just don't love his pocket presence comparatively to Ty Simpson, who has dominated in a tougher conference this year, in my opinion. The SEC is tougher than the Big Ten. And I think we have to evaluate quarterbacks based on the film. And the film is Ty Simpson can get in tight windows. He doesn't turn the ball over. He can use his legs to extend plays, and he's got elite pocket awareness, pocket presence, and can dominate you in all aspects of the game. Downfield passing, intermediate passing, short field passing, right? So to me, he's a much more valuable prospect. And you could argue that Ty Simpson is a better prospect than Cam Ward was last year. I mean, that's just the facts. He's just a better quarterback. Like Cam Ward took too much to extend plays, and it's really not his fault that Tennessee is leaving him to dry there, but not giving him many options. But we'll see what they do. right now. So the second pick, that would leave New Orleans getting jumped, right? And they're still going to take a quarterback because they would want Fernando Mendoza in this situation. I'm not saying Mendoza is a bad quarterback. I like Fernando Mendoza a lot. Also, I'm not answering fantasy football questions, Mike, and this is live specifically for NFL draft. So Josiah says Jets shouldn't draft the quarterback. They should. Fields is dog shit. He can't read a defense to save his life. It's the same fucking thing every single year with him. Like, great talent. I don't give a shit what his talent is. He can't read defenses. You know what I mean? Like, that's important. He can't process. You want to look at statistics. The Jets have the seventh best open rate for wide receivers percentage this year, in the worst at the ball being thrown into those spots and to those open receivers and catching them. So at the end of the day, like, Justin Fields is not cutting it. They need more than just a quarterback. I get it. But the Saints, I do think, even with Tyler Shuck playing well last week, he's 26 years old, right? Like, he's older. I think they'll still go quarterback, assuming he has a few bad games. They could absolutely go in a different direction here. I think they'd be the team drafting the quarterback, though. And you can see, obviously, his PFF passing grade is 87, deep grade is 92. That's what people like a lot. The advanced stats here, the average depth of target, 9.2 is elite. Big time throw percentage, 5.1 is very good. 577 yards is pretty good as well if we're looking at the deep yards, right? Screen yards, only 272. Drop rate is 2.7%. So obviously his receivers are doing a very good job. And the pressure to sack rate is pretty decent. Average time to throw 2.59. It's pretty good as well. Let's see Simpsons if you want to. 2.98 is a little higher. That's because he extends more plays with his legs. But his big time throw percentage is right on the money there, and the deep yards is right there as well. So to me, Simpson's a better quarterback. He's a better bet. I think Fernando Mendoza's upside is vast. I like his attitude. I think he has franchise quarterback written all over him. But you also have to think about, like, which quarterback is perfect for this system. Like, if receivers are getting open like they are in the Jets, right? Fields just isn't hitting them. They need a guy who's just going to get the ball out and hit every intermediate route, every deep pass, and every short pass. Fernando Mendoza's accuracy is a little bit weaker than Simpson. So we go to the Giants here at 3, and they could trade. They're not going to trade this pick. They're not going to take Arvell Reese, even though, they should consider him, especially if whatever his name, Kayvon Thibodeau is traded in the offseason, which is entirely possible. I think they're going to go Jordan Tyson from ASU. I mean, people love Carnell Tate. People love Makai Lemon, and I like Makai Lemon too. The drop percentage is elite, 1.7. He has one drop on the year, yards after catch per reception, 201st. Now remember, he's playing with a backup quarterback right now. Sam Levitt is out for the season, likely to return the following year. So I do like that the deep catches like, none of this is going to pop off the charts, but this is a guy who's very twitchy. He's 6'2", 200. He's going to test off the charts if he even goes to the combine. And I still think he'll probably be the first receiver taken. This leaves us with the Cleveland Browns, right? The needs you see here, PFF thinks quarterback, wide receiver, guard, tackle, corner. But if Fernando Mendoza is off the board, and if Ty Simpson is off the board, they are not taking a quarterback there. They have far more needs. I think they go tackle. This is not a great tackle class. Spencer Fano is probably the best. The run blocking grade you see is pretty good here. He's pretty good with the pass block grade against good competition. Obviously, had a way better 2024 season, 92.6 PFF grade versus an 84.5 this season, which isn't bad. But again, 6'6", 308. Like, he can play tackle at the next level. You look at Proctor, who's a bigger guy, but less statistics there for him. So I'd roll with Spencer Fano there. So I think they're going to take a tackle. They have 2 first-round picks. Tackle makes a lot of sense. Even if we don't think the tackles are that strong, they always go higher than we think, right? So I'm always taking that in consideration. So the Browns could need offense. And yes, Josiah, I'll be answering draft questions if you guys have some. So it's questions from TikTok. Wouldn't Browns need offense? Yeah, I could see Carnell Tate, Makai Lemon going there. Tackle is an offensive position. So, like, I see them getting a tackle there. And yeah, so again, Christina, did you F up benching Diggs? I'll answer this one, and then I'm not going to answer any more fantasy football questions. It's just going to be an NFL Draft Live. No, I think, you might have other options there. Like Diggs had a pretty good game. He's been consistent all year, but how could you have known he was going to go 100 like for 8? If you have a good team, it doesn't matter. Oh, for Woody, yeah, Woody is going to have a big game. I think that's the right decision, Christina. All right, back to the draft board. So Tennessee still gets their guy here in Ruben Bain. Look at the overall grade. 93.9 is ridiculous. The pass rush grade, 92.5. The run defense grade, 88.8. Tennessee needs a lot of things. Obviously, you could see the needs here that they say are corner and line, but they're going to go Ruben Bain there. So they trade back. They get an extra first round pick and a second round pick next season, and they only trade back 4 spots. They still get Ruben Bain. Here's where it gets interesting, because I do think that the Raiders, they obviously have a need at quarterback. I think they'd be the one team. I posted this on Cold Tub Confessions today. The one team that I could see taking Kyler Murray. Truly, I think they could take Kyler Murray. I think it's possible that they could trade for him. Really, they'd be the only team dumb enough to do that. With all due respect. However, with that being said, I think if Dante Moore declares, they're going to take Dante Moore. The PFF grade's pretty good. Passing grade is great. The deep grade's the best in the class at 95.2. Depth of target 8.6. Turnover worthy plays only 2.3%. That's pretty good. His drop rate is pretty high, meaning receivers are dropping passes at a very high level. Pressure to sack percentage isn't as great as the other two, but he's still a very good player. So I think they would go Dante Moore, assuming he declares. So this would leave the Miami Dolphins, who have been winning a lot recently, okay, with a plethora of options. You can go wide receiver, you can go guard, you can go linebacker, you can go corner. I think they go the best player in the class from a lot of people's minds is Arvell Reese, one of the best linebacker prospects, probably the last decade. There haven't been a lot of great ones, but he's definitely part of the elite. He's more of an edge rusher, but he can drop into coverage 6'4", 243. I mean, he's it's incredible what he's been able to do this year. I know the coverage grade is going to look pretty weak, but his pass rush grade is really good for a linebacker. His run defense grade is very good, meaning he can do both. So I do think they would take Arvell Reese there and have Tua probably for one more season. I mean, they do have Quinn Ewers. I'm not saying Quinn Ewers is great, but Quinn Ewers is a guy that, if God forbid something happens to Tua, that they'd probably want to see more of at quarterback, even though I don't think he's good. Here's where it gets interesting, guys, because we have the Commanders in this situation needing a bunch of stuff. DB, edge, guard. You have Caleb Downs here as a safety. He's one of the best players in the entire country, right? Coverage grade is elite. Run defense grade's elite. He's a hard hitter. Run stop's great. The PFF grade's been off the charts for years. He's been the best player in the country, arguably, for a while. I think they would go with him. I think they would. Yeah. No doubt about it. Caleb Downs is an elite player. And I think that's the highest the safety will go is 8. I don't see anybody higher than that really taking that risk. Cincinnati's an interesting position here because Peter Woods is on the board. He's really good, right? Like TJ Parker's on the board. He's really good. Mekhi Lemon, they don't need a receiver or a running back, so they're not going to take either. This is the guy I'm looking at here. The run defense grade is elite. I see tons of upside as a pass rusher, even though it's a 63.7 grade there. Keldrick Falk is 6'6", 285. To me, I mean, so much bigger than TJ Parker, who's 6'3", 260. So much bigger than, Peter Woods, who's 6'3", 310. Right? Like this is a true edge right here. David Bailey's a little slimmer. Even though he's had a great year, his pass rush grade's off the charts. 6'3", 250 is a little small to be a 3-down guy in the NFL. So I would go Keldrick Falk here. I think this is a good pick. And I think on most boards, Keldrick Falk is starting to eclipse, got players like TJ Parker. So that leaves the Rams here. And this is perhaps the most interesting portion of this draft, right? Because they're going to take a quarterback here and look at the quarterbacks remaining, right? They could trade up. It's possible with those 2 firsts. I do believe that they would take Lenoir Sellers, who's had a miserable year, horrible. Great 2023, played a few games. 2024 is pretty good. 6'3", 240, can run. Obviously has a good arm. Might go back to school. Definitely possible. But imagine Lenore Sellers being able to learn under Matthew Stafford and sit behind Matthew Stafford for a few years in a Sean McVay system. I think that's the direction they go in. And honestly, I don't think they would be opposed to taking Drew Aller there either. And that might, or Carson Beck. That might sound crazy, but Aller behind, Stafford for a few years in a Sean McVay system would be incredible, even though he had a horrible, miserable year before he got hurt. And Carson Beck's really good at getting the football out quick, kind of a perfect Sean McVay quarterback. I don't think they would consider Garrett Nussmeier. He's too much of a stone in the pocket. He's been injured all year. I get it. But I do think they would end up going with Lenore Sellers if he ends up, declaring for the draft personally. All right, so then it would leave us with the Cardinals. Again, plethora of ways they can go, plethora of options. Wide receiver, guard, tackle, linebackers, the top ones that you look at. There are really good wide receivers here. I think they will not go with Mekhi Lemon. Well, I think they will because Mekhi is so good. He's so good. He needs to be one of those guys who doesn't test great, but 90.3 receiving grade, overall grade, 91.3 receiving grade. Contested catch rate's pretty good. Grade versus man coverage is great. He's 2 drops all year. He's a yak monster. Missed tackles, crazy yards after catch per reception, 7.4 is pretty good. Slot receiver reminds me a lot of Amon-Ra. He'd be a perfect complement to Marvin Harrison Jr. And Carnell Tate is more similar to Marvin Harrison Jr., which is why I don't think they'll go in that direction. So here I'd have the Cowboys taking an edge rusher. And to me, it makes all the sense in the world to go, in the Texas pipeline and take the best pass rusher in the class, in David Bailey. And this is a guy, if you're big into the NFL draft, this is a guy that I would consider top 5. I think that he can be a 3-down guy despite his size, 6'3", 250, pretty slim at that position. I truly think he can be an elite 15-sack guy a year in the NFL. I mean, his progression from Stanford to Texas Tech is fantastic. I think that's definitely something that scouts will look at and see. And he's been unstoppable at Texas Tech. And obviously, Dallas needs another edge rusher with Micah Parsons leaving. They need primarily a pass rusher since Quinton Williams is good against the run, since Kenny Clark is good against the run. Obviously, they took Ezaraku last year, who I think is really good, but he'd be a good counterpart to him. I think David Bailey's the pick there. Now, Baltimore likely does not have the 13th overall pick. They're winning the division probably, but in this case scenario, let's say, Jackson plays well, but the defense still gives up a bazillion points. They miss the playoffs, they get the 13th pick. What would they do in this situation? Okay. They have a wide receiver need. They have a guard need. They have a D-line need. We're going to look at one of the best players in the draft right here, who I think they can get at a discount. Hasn't had the best year, but somebody that's been lining up at fullback for Clemson. Somebody that, has a ton of upside, 6'3", 310. Was primarily still the 4th-ranked guy in PFF's board. I do think they would go Peter Woods in the scenario, which would be incredible that they'd be able to reset kind of for a year and then come back next year and be Super Bowl contenders. Here's where it gets interesting, okay? This is where it gets interesting. We got TJ Parker here. We got Jeremiah Love, who's by far the best running back in the country. And this is a weak running back class, 91.5 overall grade, 92 rushing grade, 91.3 zone grade. His gap grade's even 82. Elusive rating off the charts. Yards after contact's great. Gain of 15 yards, great. 1 drop, decent in pass pro. Pretty good, actually. I think Minnesota, with what they've seen from Jordan Mason this year and what they've seen, him needing an extension as well, and what they've seen from Aaron Jones being almost washed, I think Jeremiah Love would do a lot for that team. They could absolutely go offensive line. I don't think they do. So we have now from pick 4 to pick 15 over a 10-pick gap in offensive line picks. But here, everyone and their mom, their cousin, their uncle who's staying at the bar late and doesn't know where he is hungover in the morning. He even knows that the Houston Texans are taking an offensive tackle here at 15. It depends which one. And I think it's going to be Francis Mauigoa, who might be a guard at the NFL level, but they just drafted Ronte Ursary, who I think can be their left tackle long-term. So I do think they would go with more of the safer pick in Mauigoa versus a guy like, Caden Proctor, who, has upside but isn't that great, right? Again, this is the draft so far. Ty Simpson, Fernando Mendoza, Jordan Tyson, Spencer Fano. And again, I had the Jets trading up to get Ty Simpson. Ruben Bain, Dante Moore, Earl Reese, Caleb Downs, Keldrick Falk, Lenore Sellers. Rams obviously got that pick from Atlanta. Mekhi Lemon, David Bailey, Peter Woods, Share My Love, Francis Mauigoa. So now we go to the Carolina Panthers, who have a need at receiver still, need at edge rusher. I think they would go TJ Parker, truly. I think it's a good pick. I mean, this is a discount. I know they've spent a lot on some edge rushers. They have one of the best defensive tackles in the league. I just don't see how TJ Parker falls back past pick 16, especially with Lemon off the board. They could go Carnell Tate there, but is a receiver really going to help Bryce Young that much? You know what I mean? At this point, we know what he is. They need to build the rest of the roster, and maybe take a receiver later, especially since they went receiver the last few years in the first round. Can't go 3 in a row. I mean, Leggett obviously isn't panning out, but here's where it's interesting. Kansas City can go in a variety of directions here. I do think they end up going with Jermon McCoy. He's obviously been hurt all year. Very good corner, who they can develop in that Spagnuolo system. They turn corners into all pros immediately. A guy with that talent could go immediately. They could go Delane. I love Delane. Delane's had the best year of any corner, right? His grade is top 89.4 coverage grade. I mean, he's been insane this year. He's 6 foot, so he's pretty big corner. I just think they would go with the development route with Jermon, who they could develop in Spags' system once he gets healthy. Niners here, very, very interesting situation, right? Obvious need at tackle and center. Edge rusher, they have a need there too. You look at the guys available. Cassius Howell's been incredible, but he is not the type of guy they would like. He's too small. They do not like 6'2", 248 edge rushers. So Carnell Tate, you could look at receiver there. They're probably looking to move off Ayuk. Corner, they're probably set there. You go down the charts and it's like, okay, what do we do? Is there a trade? Now, if Pittsburgh wants to move up a few slots to eclipse Cleveland here, I think they could, and they'll trade a second rounder for 18. I think that's possible because I think Pittsburgh wants to take a quarterback. I think Pittsburgh knows that Garrett Nussmeier is probably a quarterback that would fit in their system. Kind of a stone in the pocket. He's had a miserable year, but he's 6'2" or 6'1", 205. Really good arm. I don't like him. I just know Pittsburgh's going to be enamored with that type of quarterback personally. That's the type of guy they want. Some guy, stone, sit in the pocket, deliver. Arthur Smith loves guys like that. I do think that they would go Garrett Nussmeier, which means that we have the Browns with their second pick right here. Okay. They already took a tackle. I think this works out perfectly for them. They want Carnell Tate, right? 89.5 receiver grade. They could take him at 4. I think they get him there at 19, which goes back to the San Francisco 49ers here at 20. They got an extra second round pick, which they obviously need. Now you can look at, we need to replace Trent Williams. We need a guy who can learn under Trent. I think Caden Proctor is the perfect guy right there, especially since they don't like small edge rushers. And like I said, Cassius Howell is a small edge rusher. So again, we have 4 quarterbacks going in the first round here. Simpson, Mendoza, Lenore Sellers going to the Rams as a developmental pick. And of course, Garrett Nussmeier to the Steelers. And I could see a scenario where they go Mansour Delane there and kind of beef their cornerback spot with Jalen Ramsey getting older and washed. Like, I could see that completely. This is a match made in heaven right here for the Bills. Desperate need at corner. Delane's probably the best corner in the draft as of right now. I think you have to go in that direction there. So leaves the Chicago Bears, right? Obvious need at running back, but Love is gone. They've played so well where they're going to be out of the Love sweepstakes anyways. So I think they go D-line here. And I think they go Caleb Banks from Florida, right? Not a great year, but we look at the metrics, 6'6", 330, like big guy, someone that can probably learn under that system there. play alongside some good players on that D line. I think that's a perfect pick. Here's where it gets interesting. I think Tampa could get a tight end, but I think they also love Cade Otton more than we like Cade Otton. So I do think they would go with Cassius Howell and get another edge rusher and get some pressure on the quarterback, right? He's been excellent. I mean, him and Bailey or Cassius Howell's on Texas A&M. I don't know what I'm talking about, but him and Bailey have been the two best edge rushers in the country. And, you could argue Romello Height is another guy. Where's Romello Height? Did I miss him? Him and Bailey have been the best pass rusher duo in the country. He's a little bigger. They could definitely do that. The Bears will trade up for Love. You just feel it. I mean, they could. I don't think they want to trade the compensation though for him, but I could see it. I mean, you'd have to trade above Minnesota at 14. That's probably the first place he'll go. He's not going before that unless Arizona drafts him, which I highly doubt. So here, obvious need at center. You look at a guy like Connor Liu, who's probably the best, center in the country as a prospect. I think that's where the Lions go there. Dallas, right? Another pick here. Linebacker, Sonny Styles has been excellent. I think they go Sonny Styles for sure in that position. Chargers could go in a variety of different directions here. Truly, they could. We have to see how the rest of the season plays out, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be taking an edge rusher. But just because I think that doesn't mean that Jim Harbaugh is probably going to want another guard. So I think they'll go here. Yeah. I mean, especially with Alt Slater out for the year, I think they're going to beef up that line with the first few picks. So the Rams now have their second pick of the first round. They take Lenoir Sellers. I can definitely see a scenario where they go Nick Harbor, who's been horrible, but it's Sellers' guy. He's 6'5", 235. He's about to run one of the fastest 40 times in history. He's going to end up in the first round. Whether you or I agree with it or not, I think they would go Nick Harbor and get a fast receiver for Sellers there that has a rapport with him for the future and at least develop him a little bit. The Patriots, wow. I think they go Caleb Lomo. They need another tackle. I think beefing up that line is, especially the way May has played with arguably mid receivers. He's got Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, and he's got Demario Douglas and Matt Collins. That might be enough to win him a Super Bowl, which is crazy to say. I wouldn't have said that a long time ago, but this is something that I think could work there. Eagles, I don't think there's any chance they don't go edge rusher here, especially with Jalen Phillips. They're going to try to re-sign him. If they don't, I think they go Romello Height, who's obviously been the best counterpart to David Bailey with the best pass rushing duo in the country at Texas Tech. Broncos, it says they need running back. They don't. RJ Harvey is going to be elite, so they don't need one. This is perfect. Evan Ingram hasn't been that good for them. I think Kenyon Sadiq helps a lot. I think he's a first-round tight end. I know he's a first-round tight end, and if the Chiefs don't take him there at 17, maybe the Chiefs have a pick down the line, 25, and they end up taking him. But I think he goes 30, right? The Seahawks, if they end up taking this pick, right, and having it at 31, which I think they'll be a little higher than this, and the Rams' second pick will probably be a little far down. I think they take Colton Hood. He's had a great year, without McCoy being there. But McCoy hasn't been healthy. I think Colton Hood is one of the fastest risers in the draft. And this pick, I thought I traded this pick to Tennessee, but we'll just trade. No, I traded the 27 pick for that. So this would be still New York's pick. So they take a quarterback. I would also probably take a wide receiver here. You have a plethora of them. I think I would go Denzel Boston, 6'4". 6'4" guy, I think, could fit in there. Kind of a different type of receiver than Garrett Wilson, but similar at the same time. Both pretty twitchy, contested catch monsters. I think that would help a lot. So they take Ruben Bain, Tennessee, with their first pick. It's obvious they need a corner. But it's also obvious they need to protect Cam Ward. So I think they go Dunker right here at tackle. So we're into round 2 now. The first full round here, I'll show you guys here. Ty Simpson, Mendoza, Tyson, Fano. Again, the Jets traded up for the first pick in this mock. Tennessee traded back and still got Reuben Bain. Dante Moore, Reese, Downs, Falk. Rams take Sellers as a developmental prospect. Makai Lemon there at 11. David Bailey at 12. Peter Woods at 13 right here. Jeremiah Love goes to the Vikings, who aren't sold on Mason and Jones for the future. Texans obviously go O-line, Maugoa. Then we got obviously TJ Parker, Jamon McCoy, Garrett Nussmeier going to the Steelers there, although it's entirely possible they go Mansour Delane there and don't take a quarterback. But you got the Browns taking Carnell Tate at 19. Caden Proctor becoming Trent's heir apparent in San Francisco. Trent Williams is heir apparent. You just look at the size here. It makes a lot of sense. Mansour Delane, Caleb Banks, Cassius Howell, Connor Liu, Sonny Styles. Don't know how to pronounce his name, but I like him. I've watched his film from Penn State. He's a guard. Nick Harbor, developmental prospect, but 6'5", 235. Going to get close to Worthy's record at the combine. Romello Height, Lomo, Sadiq, Hood, Boston. So now we go to the Saints, right? They took Fernando Mendoza, which means, kind of have to take Elijah Surratt because they have a rapport and you want to keep those guys together who have been playing together at least this season. Seem like they have a great rapport, right? Here's where it gets interesting. Giants need a corner. I think they would go Terrell here, which is AJ's brother. I think that's where they would go. So you get a corner and a receiver to start this draft for the Giants, which is a blessing that they don't need a quarterback in this draft. Now the Browns have taken a wide receiver and a tackle. I think they would also take corner. And this guy's been rising up all draft boards, but I don't buy him being a top of the line guy right here. So I do think that they will go AJ Harris, who, he hasn't had a good year, but I think there's development for sure there. So I think they would take a risk on a guy like that. Again, I'm not answering any fantasy football questions in this live mock draft. It's just going to be NFL draft stuff. So going through 3 rounds. Feel free to DM me after and all that. So again, we're live on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter as well. So again, this will be up on YouTube after, which will be accessible to all of you guys who are interested in, mock drafts and a full mock. And, I'm coming back from losing my voice. I haven't had my voice in a week, so I was super sick. So still getting that back, but so we have the Jets pick here. Obviously, Denzel Boston and Ty Simpson already picked, right, by them. So then we have a situation where we could take a linebacker. This is a pretty good linebacker class, arguably the best in a long time. I think CJ Allen makes a lot of sense. He's had a really good year, 6'1", 235. They breed excellent linebackers, so I think that's an easy pick. We go here to the Raiders. They really need a corner. Again, seems a little bit high for this dude. Might be, Keith Abney I like a lot, actually. I would love Keith Abney. Yeah. I have the Broncos taking Kenyon Sadiq right there at 30 if he falls there. Assuming the Broncos, this is their current selection. They could be higher, they could be lower, depending on where they finish the season. So Miami, who took a linebacker with their first pick, they need an interior lineman, and they also need a tackle. This guy's pretty good. I've watched some tape on him. He's probably a guard at the next level, but you got to build the trenches with Miami. That's how you start moving with this rebuild forward. You have Waddle, foundational piece, not a good enough quarterback class unless you're getting the top 2 quarterbacks to make a run at any of the guys available right now. So again, you look at the class, like Levitt's not going to come out. He's probably going back to school. Mayava's going back to school for sure. He's not ready. Mateer might go back to school. Sorensby, I don't know. Klubnik's obviously coming out. Drew Aller doesn't have a chance but to come out. Carson Beck, same thing. Shambla, same thing. Mensah's coming back. Is Hoover a redshirt senior? He's a junior. He's coming back. Um, Nico will probably transfer to Miami or some shit. He'll probably come back. Pavia will be available, but like no one wants him because he's like 2 inches tall, which isn't his fault. But scouts just don't like short quarterbacks. So let's go back to the Texans here. Offensive tackle again. When in doubt, trust the Stanford tackle to develop. Texans take 2 tackles to start this draft. Which leads us to the Cincinnati Bengals, who took Keldrick Falk with their first pick. They obviously need a corner, in my opinion. They need a guard. They need a center. Let's go interior offensive line here. Jake Slaughter probably going to play center at the next level now. No, they don't. They list him as. I like that pick there. I think he can do both. So, again, we got Atlanta here. This will be their first pick of this draft. I mean, it says they need a wide receiver. I think they need more than that. I think this might be a good time to get a lineman, a D lineman from Georgia, right in their backyard. Get Kristen Miller, which is kind of a discount. So we're doing this mock draft, and this is a 3-round mock, and I'll be doing a mock every single week on live. Who did the Bills get? I had them taking Mansour Delane, which would be an absolute steal, but they would take a corner later if they end up finishing later in the draft. Let's see. So the Cardinals here, we had them taking Mekhi Lemon, right? So we have them already figuring out this need a wide receiver. Let's go guard, tackle, linebacker, right? Which is the best of these options? I think you got to go tackle here. This dude's been pretty good. 6'5", 325. Goodsby's also been really good. He's a big dude. 6'7", 312. I think they would go Goodsby. I think they would. So the Jets here, this is one of the picks they got in the Quinnen Williams trade. Yeah. Of course, dude. It was a good pick. Yeah. And Jay, I'll respond to your DM later. And Frank, I am going to talk fantasy basketball at a later date. This is simply NFL draft right now. Specifically, this is for my long form content on YouTube because I need to make more of it. But I just went live to go along with it, just in case. So Dallas with the New York Jets, right? Like they traded one of these picks, right? So Arvell Reese, Tua. Yeah, Arvell Reese. I had fallen to 7 there. And then I have him taking a tackle in round 2 right here, which fixes 2 of their needs. So the Jets could go in a variety of directions, right? They got Denzel Boston. They got CJ Allen, and they got Ty Simpson, right? So you can go in a variety of different directions. I think this is a good time to draft this dude from South Carolina who's rising up boards. He's pretty good. So we got Baltimore here who took Peter Woods in the first round. I think this is a perfect place for Chris Brazil to go. Deep threat, vertical threat for Lamar Jackson. I think that's perfect. KC Concepcion could be a pick there as well. But yeah, Fano went too high, Cormac. He went at 4 to the Browns in this mock specifically. And this, if you guys missed any of this, this will be up on my YouTube right after. You guys will be able to stream it. Make sure you're subbing on my YouTube. A lot of good long form content coming on YouTube as well. So that'll be super fun. Alrighty. And then we go to the Minnesota Vikings here, 46. They took Jeremiah Love in round 1 in this draft. Okay. I do think they obviously have needs on the offensive line. Offensive tackle's the move. I like Isaiah World, even though, he hasn't been great. I mean, he's a big dude. He's 6'8". So again, I would go Isaiah World there and just kind of develop him at tackle. Houston, they get 2 linemen to start the draft. And I don't think they're done. I think they need another lineman. So I would go with the highest upside guy here. And this guy's 6'5", 315. I've watched some of his tape. Blake Miller's really good. I like Blake Miller, but he's more of a guard. Just keep beefing up the line. 3 tackles to start the draft. Like, this is not a good running back draft. Sure, you could go and get Jonah Coleman, Jadarian Price, but are they even better than Woody Marks? Like, let's be honest with ourselves. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, Peter Woods fell to Baltimore in this, but Baltimore's probably, again, not going to have the 13th pick. They're going to keep winning, probably win the division, but this is as of right now with these picks, right? This is a full 3-round mock with that. So Carolina, I had taking an edge rusher, I believe, TJ Parker at 16, who also fell to them. The wide receiver pick, like, why would they take wide receivers in 3 straight drafts, right? Like, to me, it makes no sense. I don't think, like, in the first round, but Casey Concepcion is here. This dude could return punts for them. He could also be a guy that can get separation. I think you need guys like that because Legat can't separate to save his life, right? McMillan can obviously separate. You still have a problem at quarterback, but I mean, there's a variety of directions they could go in there. So I had Kansas City taking a corner. I do think they would be the one to take Jadarian Price here, right? 5'11", could take Jonah Coleman. It's 5'9", a little smaller. Singleton's been pretty good. They could take him as well. So I mean, there's a variety of different directions. Watch out for this being the second guy drafted. And I'm going to make that claim right now. He's going to run the fastest 40 time of any running back at the combine. They need someone really fast in that offense. They've always loved and admired speed. They've drafted guys based on that. I think that's something that they would consider. So here's where you can go edge rusher if you're the Niners or D-line. Caden McDonald is nasty. I think they would go Caden McDonald. So that's a great start for the 49ers draft. And I'll make a separate video about a full 7-round 49ers draft, since that's my team. But if they went Caden Proctor in round 1 and Caden McDonald in round 2, like, you get Trent's heir apparent who can develop him and help him out. And then you get a competent D lineman because God knows they don't have many. So again, I think Caden McDonald, I like him a little more than Washington. Washington's huge though. So he's 330. He's a big boy. I love Caden McDonald though. Okay. So then we go to Jacksonville. This is their first pick of the draft here. They need a D lineman. Washington's here, but they also need desperately a guard. They need to keep beefing up that offensive line. They need a tackle too. They also need a safety. I think they could go Rod Moore, but I think they're going to go Kamari Ramsey here. I think that's a great pick. I think Ramsey's super underrated. I really do. So that leaves the Pittsburgh Steelers, who took a quarterback here last. They obviously need a corner. Bad. And I think D'Angelo Pons is a guy that's rising and has been super good. He's kind of small, but I think he's a guy that's going to rise as Indiana continues to play. The college football playoff, guys like that rise all the time. So you still have LT Overtone. Right, Mason Thomas, pretty big guy. 250. Quincy Rhodes, huge. They're typical guys. A Landon Jackson clone, basically. They love those 6'6", 280 pass rushers. Washington makes the best sense there, though. He does. You beef up that defensive line more and more and more because round 1, right, you get your corner. Round 2, you get a D lineman. How are you going to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs? How are you going to continue to beef up your line so that you can play, and be dominated in the trenches? That's super important. So that's a steal there. 54, Chicago Bears. I had him taking Caleb Banks, I believe, in round 1, if I remember correctly. Yes, Caleb Banks. Okay. So we have them there. They have a need at running back. They have a need at linebacker. And this is a great linebacker class. Like I mentioned, Anthony Hill, I think, is incredible. I think that's where they go. I don't think this is where you the draft where you just sell out for running backs. I don't think they're that good besides Jeremiah Love. And unless they trade up for Jeremiah Love, you're obviously not getting him, which means things get tougher in that scenario, right? Tampa, I have here. They took an edge rusher in round 1, right? Cassius Howell, who I love. 250, great guy, incredible, right? And here is where it gets interesting because I do think that he should go higher than this. He's pretty unreal, guys. Michael Trigg is nasty. So imagine that draft to start for Tampa Bay. You get Cassius Howell, who's been the most productive edge besides David Bailey in the country, on the best defense in the country. And you get Michael Trigg. I mean, 2 needs right there. I mean, Tampa sets them up perfectly. You got the Lions here. I took Connor Lew in the first round. They have a need at D-line. They have a need at corner. Chris Johnson's really good, but he is a small school guy. Chandler Rivers, I've seen a lot of his tape. He's pretty good. This guy has kind of been getting cooked all year, but I mean, obviously 6'1", he's a big corner. Will Lee is really good, though. I like Will Lee. I think they go Will Lee there. I do. I think they look. Terrion Arnold's been good. He's been fine. They need more guys in their secondary. They need more guys on their line. Their defense isn't good, so I think they build. They get a good center in round 1, right? And then they get a good corner in round 2. I think that's a good start because then you can go edge rusher with all these guys falling in round 3, right? Packers now, first pick of their draft here. They need another receiver. Sorry. Been dealing with a cough for like a week. So every once in a while I'll cough. There's options here at receiver. But they need a corner desperately. Like desperately. They need a corner desperately. Muhammad's pretty good. I still think he's going to be a riser in the process. Kilgore's okay. I think this is where you would take a risk on a small school guy that tests well, like Chris Johnson, right? Like he's a good name. One of the best to do it in his prime, Chris Johnson on the Titans. But yeah, 6 foot 195. He's a pretty big guy. I mean, he's playing at San Diego State, so we don't really know how good he is theoretically. But there's been a ton of those guys. Khalil Mack played at Buffalo. I mean, I could go down the list. BYU used to be a small school, quote unquote. Fred Warner, Kyle Van Noy, you know what I mean? Puka Nacua. So, like, they get a bad rap, these small school guys. But this guy's obviously a beast. If PFF's ranking him at 57, he's got a 92 grade. His coverage grade's freaking ridiculous. He's one dropped interception. Like, he's a baller. Chargers here, I had them going trenches round 1. I mean, it's too good to pass up. You got to take Overton there, who's possibly a first-round pick. He just hasn't had a good year, but he's 6'5", 280. He's 21. He's younger than a lot of these other guys like Cassius Howell and Romello Height, right? Like, I think that would be a great pick. And they obviously need to replace Khalil Mack, who's getting astronomically older, as we all do, such as age. But they definitely need to beef up the trenches, and they do that with a guard on the first one, assuming Alt and Slater come back. They have some depth there, which they haven't had this year. And yeah, here's what gets interesting. So I had the Rams taking Nick Harbor, and I had the Rams taking Lenore Sellers and pairing them together. They're absolutely 100% taking a corner here. I mean, look, this guy, his coverage grade is pretty good. Completion percent, yeah. I mean, zone coverage grade is pretty great. Julian Neal has had a pretty good year. He's 6'2". I think, this guy's been really good. I think they would go Keontae Scott. I think he's going to continue to rise on draft boards. We go to the New England Patriots here, right? In round 1, they get a lineman to protect Drake May. We know that, right? So here they're going to go edge. There's just too many good options here. You got Mason Thomas. You got Josh Josephs, who's freaking incredible. Mateo, DJ's brother. I think that's where they go. You go the upside pick there and have Vrabel develop him. Patriots are a wagon right now. They haven't really played many good teams. Like Bills, they beat the only good team. The Bills have been playing like shit. Again, I don't care about the Bills playing bad right now because it's not December yet. It's not January. I'd rather have them play bad now and be able to beat the Chiefs in like January, right? Like, there's no doubt that they're going to steamroll. They play Tampa this week. Yeah, they'll beat the shit out of Tampa. Don't they play Tampa this week? I'm pretty sure. Because look what they did to Carolina the week after getting embarrassed, by the Falcons. So let's go back here. Eagles get an edge rusher in round 1. They're absolutely going receiver here. There's too many good ones on the board. I hate this because I love him so much, and he's a contested catch monster. Jacoby Lane. I mean, he's incredible. I think that's an A+ Howie draft per usual. Jacoby Lane, and of course, who would have him getting round 1? Edge rusher, right? Yeah, Romello Height, who's really good. He's been so good all year. Okay. Denver took a tight end round 1. They're going to take a linebacker here. There's no doubt. And Lawson's there. It makes too much sense. I could see Whit Weeks there. I think he's a natural fit in that defense. But again, Seattle, I had taking Would have taken Colton Hood in round 1. So with that, they're going to go interior offensive line here. There's not a lot of good options. Go OT. Linebacker, I guess they could also go. They need a linebacker bad. So I guess we'll go with Whit Weeks here. I think that makes sense in an improving defense, one of the best in the league. So the Colts have this pick. It's their first pick of the draft here. They just gave Charvarius Ward that massive contract, right? They just traded for Sauce, so I don't think they're going to go DB. But, I mean, there's a lot of good linebackers. The interior offensive linemen aren't great here, right? Like, this guy is a pretty big dude. DJ Campbell hasn't been good. I'm trying to think of like a natural fit here. You go center. Get back up to Bordolini. I mean, they don't have many options there. Tennessee has done a lot in this draft, right? They've done a lot of good things. They've got a tackle. They've got an edge rusher. So they need a corner desperately here. And I think Chandler Rivers is a perfect fit there. New Orleans, who's gotten receivers, gotten a quarterback. They also need a D lineman desperately. So we're going to go D line here. There are options here. Bear Alexander is not good, so I wouldn't do that. Oh, Rashawn Benny. I can't believe he's so low. I mean, he's a monster. He's an absolute monster. Yeah, draft him for sure. Pick 67. They have 3 linemen. Now is when you take the risk at running back. I think they'll go Nick Singleton. I think, bigger running back, guy that kind of complements Woody Marks, basically just Woody Marks, because they're not going to have Joe Mixon on the roster probably next year. And there's no way they bring Chubb back, right? Unless with these, I thought he signed a 1-year deal. I don't think it's a 2-year deal. So the Browns, Carnell Tate, Spencer Fano, they get a corner too, right? I got him a corner. Yeah. AJ Harris. I mean, you have a plethora of options. I think they go OT here. I think they go Caden Green. I think that's a perfect fit there. I'm going to speed through these a little bit since, I wanted to keep this under an hour and we're almost there. Philadelphia Eagles obviously having a great draft so far with an edge rusher and a wide receiver. I think they go corner here. I don't think there's any question they go corner, and I think Julian Neal makes the most sense. Raiders here, they have needs everywhere. I do think they go line, though. I think they have to get another lineman, and they'll go the dude from Ohio State, who's pretty good. I think he's had a really good year. Which leaves the Dolphins, who have gone guard, right, wide receiver, right. I'm going to give them another corner. I think they need another corner. Xavier Scott's been pretty good. I like him, but I think Muhammad fits perfectly in that system. So then we got a few more picks left, right? Washington, we had taken, Caleb Downs already. They have a round 2 pick. I don't think they had a round 2 pick because of the Tunsil trade. So I do obviously have an edge rusher. There's a ton of good ones here. I think you go Josephs. You kind of have to. Here, perfect for the Bengals. Edge rushers fall into their lap. Mason Thomas makes a lot of sense. Crazy that he's falling. Falcons, again, this is their second pick of the draft. The Falcons, I had to take Kristen Miller there. They have a need at receiver. There's a lot of good ones here. I could see Jeremy Bernard, who's been excellent. They need kind of a yak guy to play off of Drake London. So I think that's a perfect fit. Cardinals, I think, have been excellent in what they've done in this draft specifically, right? Like they got Trevor Goodsby, right? They've got Kyle Lemon. Okay, so now you're looking at linebacker and guard, right? So I'm going to go linebacker here. York makes a lot of sense. He's been great all year. I think they need that. They need to beef up that defense. Gannon's obviously a defensive coach. I don't think he gets fired. I don't think he should get fired. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Pittsburgh here, who we've had take a corner and we've had take a quarterback. Have they gone receiver yet? I don't think. No, D'Angelo Pons. Yeah, I didn't have him take receiver. So this is perfect because there are a lot of good receivers. The guy that makes the most sense is Chris Bell. He makes the most sense there. He's really good. He's like a prime Deebo Samuel type of guy. Yards after catch monster. I think complements DK a lot. God knows they need another receiver to help Aaron Rodgers, who I assume is going to play next season at this point. Baltimore took a receiver. They took a D lineman. I think they go linebacker here as well. They need another linebacker. I mean, this guy's been good, but Jacob Rodriguez is going to rise on all boards. He's been insane this year. So I think that's a steal there in round 3. You got Minnesota, who's taking a tackle, who's taking a running back here. I think they go edge rusher, best player available at this point. I think Miami probably does the same and goes receiver with Deion Burks, who's, tiny, but he's a great player. Carolina, I already have him taking receiver. I already have him taking edge, linebacker, right? Like, I think they go interior offensive line here. I think that's the move. You could take a chance on a quarterback here. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if they go Cade Klubnik. Let's do it. Why not? Because Bryce Young hasn't proven anything. We'll go Gabe Lucas here for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's been good all year. Niners have gotten Proctor. They've gotten a D lineman so far, but they need an edge rusher. They also need a receiver. Zion Young makes a lot of sense here. I like Zion Young. I think he's incredible. I think that it's a perfect fit. Beef up that line on both sides of the football. Jacksonville, I still think they need another safety. I'm going to go Rod Moore there for them. Pittsburgh Steelers, I think they could use a halfback. I mean, assuming Caleb Johnson's been horrible. I like Jonah Coleman, even though he's 5'9". I think they can work with him a lot. It's a strong running back. Bills could take a receiver here. Now it makes sense to take a receiver. Strong makes a lot of sense there. Bears, I think this is where you would take the linebacker. I didn't take the linebacker last with the Bears, huh? Yeah. Oh, no, I did take Anthony Hill. So they could do a bunch of different things here. Might as well take a cornerback and get depth. Take the high upside guy from Georgia who hasn't had a good year, but he's been pretty good overall. Interior offensive line here for the Bucks. We're going to go the 6'7" guard right there. Jacksonville's had a really good draft so far. Obviously, we had them take a safety there, 2 safeties, because their safeties are dog shit. They're awful, with all due respect. I do think they'll end up taking another tackle here. Brian Parker makes sense there, even though it might be a little high for some people. Green Bay, who we had taking Chris Johnson last, they're going to take a receiver here. Is he faster as wide receiver 1 traits? I mean, Strong is a good prospect. 6'3", 211. So he's kind of like a Keon Coleman, right? Like, his man coverage grade's pretty good. He's decently fast, but he's a big dude. Like, he's 211, 6'3". Like, his route running is pretty good. Watch the tape on him. I think that's a guy they could look at. I also could see them taking Nick Anderson, 6'4", 208. Like, CJ Daniels makes sense for them, 6'2". Omar Cooper, more of like a Khalil Shakir type at 6 feet. Like, he's good. Singleton's also another guy that's kind of more like Khalil Shakir, but good. Trey Lance's brother's actually really fucking good. I think he's going to be a great NFL player. Zachariah Branch, if you want speed, I guess, but he hasn't had a great year. Like, there's options there. It's a pretty deep wide receiver class. I do think Green Bay, though, they need someone who can separate at a high level here. I think Omar Cooper makes sense, and I think Singleton's the pick, though, there. The Chargers need a safety. I would go LSU has some pretty good players. Surprised how bad they are with all these good players that they have. Yeah, I mean, Williams is good, but Williams has had a bad year. I just don't trust him right now. We're almost done with this draft here. Going 100 picks, 100 pick mock. Again, this will be up on YouTube right after, so you can see the whole thing. I do think the Rams, they need another corner. They need 2 corners, 3 corners, 4 corners if they want to get back to where they want to be. I think Thaddeus Dixon, I mean, he's Bill Belichick guy this year. Bill Belichick's team is playing a little bit better. I like that pick there. New England, I think, is going to get a guy that, this is where you can go receiver for them. They've built the trenches a little bit. I think Omar Cooper makes a lot of sense for Drake May. I think he's really good. I think the Eagles go Corleone. They want D lineman. He's a bit small, but they want run stoppers. They're going to beef up the trenches. That's typically what they do in rounds 3 and 4. We got Denver right here, and Denver, believe I had them taking a linebacker with their last pick, right? Yeah, Lawson, and then I had them taken in round 1, Kenyon Sadiq, right? So here, I mean, you could take a running back. I just think it's a waste of time. Unless you want a counterpart, you could take Jadarian Price to counterpart RJ Harvey. I guess that makes sense there. Seattle, I could see them taking another corner, but I mean, there's a plethora of options. Might as well get another edge rusher there. Lucas is from SC. I think he's really good. I mean, he hasn't had a great year. He's 6'5", 285, big guy. Colts, I could see being a natural fit for Thieneman. I mean, he's fallen because he's had a bad year, but he's still a solid prospect, and he's a ball hawk. Minnesota, I think CJ Daniels makes a lot of sense. They need another receiver. I mean, I would just go BPA right there, best player available. Same thing for the Steelers there with Orange. And the Eagles here, I think they go tight end with Stowers. Stowers is really good. So that is the entire draft with this pick. The Jaguars I have taken. Let's give them a tight end too with Max Clare. So that's the draft. It obviously won't be able to analyze this. I don't think it's only going to give me the first round. But if we look at the full results, we got all this here. Feel free to look through everything and let me know what you guys think. I'll be doing individual mock drafts for each team. And yeah, that's good. That's it for today. I'm going to hop off, but I appreciate you guys checking it out, listening to this hour-long mock draft and my thoughts on it. And make sure you're subbing to my YouTube if you haven't already. I appreciate it, y'all. Make sure you're following me on TikTok, Instagram, and X. A lot of good stuff coming on X now, especially Niner stuff if you want that stuff.